You know what's really interesting? Deb and I had a little event here that happened to us a couple of meetings ago at a cultural meeting. We had somebody in the audience that said, Norm DeBril, by the way, who is one of the real salt of the earth people on this planet, went through a real health scare a while back. And Norman has lung cancer and really was wrestling that thing down. Can you imagine how his organization, where they're so firmly rooted in Norm's core belief systems, and they are truly rooted in Norm's core belief systems, how they started to feel? So the question came up at one of our cultural steering meetings was, because Norm now is heading towards retirement, they're going, well, is this going to all change when Norm retires? Now, what the kids wanted me to say, well, no, we'll be all right. But I couldn't say that because I don't know. And I've been a party to too many events where somebody changes the top leader in an organization, and candidly, gang, it goes to hell in a handbasket in terms of being a place that you want to work at, because the core beliefs are so strong, and then the people at the top are so influential that when you were talking about, so what might be a great place to work can be a lousy place to work almost overnight. Now, our message to all of the people who were in the room is, every day, bring it. Align in a place that you love. I don't have a crystal ball, and I certainly don't have any control over the future. So, all you can do is what you can do, right? There are certain things that we have control over and things we don't. We actually did the little bit of Covey work for him, the
right.
circle of control, the circle of influence. Right. I said, have influence.
Right.
But think about the further down the food chain you get, Neil, it feels like the less control and the more kind of shooting in the dark that you got to do. Am I really aligned? And we don't talk enough about it. I think we think it's soft. I think there are people out there going, I'm not going to talk about that. It's about feelings. I'm going, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So, interesting discussion. Let me swing over. Which is the second question?
Behind you.
Front of mind. Who gets that one? Is that yours, Rachel?
That's mine. How do you keep them front of mind or you? The first one, talk. The how and what?
Talk equally.
Talk equally.
Yeah, sorry, a little cryptic of my message.
Live and practice your why daily. Be genuinely interested in theirs. Practice and attention. Continual evaluation. Continue to share your passion, goals, dreams. A regular message keeps buy-in. Be focused and be present, exclamation point. Share your why. Lead by example and engage, 2 exclamation points. Assess and self-correct, don't judge. Maintain the connections you built and frame context.
So Rachel, take the average employee at YCSU and stick them in front of that chart. How much of that would make sense to them?
I think a good portion of it would. I think everybody realizes that it's important to be focused and be present. Whether they choose to be or not is something different. Leading by example. We have a lot of people at all levels leading by example, and that's an important piece for our staff. Maintaining connections, we do that well inside our organization. I think the passion piece, goals and dreams, that's what sort of keeps us charging all in the same direction. So I think there's a lot there that they would buy into and identify with.
One of the things, thank you very much. One of the things that we find out is that people have gotten themselves trained to write things like vision statements or charter statements. I mean, we're kind of the captains of charter and vision writing. But, they don't really have a lot of value unless they're believed, unless they're heartfelt, unless they have resonance in people's hearts. To me, that's a taller order, because they can write you up a wonderful, glorious document. That means absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing. So it's always been the conundrum around here is, how do you get people to talk about what they believe and then live to what they believe? So I think in my little handout to you guys, I actually put some of the stuff we were talking about. I know it actually was in my thing today. Belief systems are what you get to know about Brett Watson when you spend a lot of time with him. All you have to do is listen. and you hear it, right? It's what you hear when you listen to Deb. I really, there's a resonance there that you're going, yeah, you literally can't slide a piece of paper between what you believe, Deb, and what I believe. And I think to some degree, and you're right. Now we know that. It's not just us because we're here in the room and we all get it. We're right. We're right. This whole idea of front of mind is the big thing for me. How do you get it to be more than just a document, something you slap on a piece of paper, something you hang as a banner? And those are all cool. I'm glad that they are, but they're only cool if you live them, right? So how do you keep it front of mind? I mean, those are good examples.
You know what I'm mindful of, and I'm being perfectly frank. The core is fine. I meditate regularly. I really feel like we're all the same thing, at that universal level. I find as I start towards the office, I become work Dave. And I'm not saying I'm an ass, but I'm work Dave. And I think a little bit differently than I do when I'm at home or socializing. That's my have to think of. And that presence, it sounds easy, but it is hard. And that's why I put a self-correct and don't judge yourself, because it takes that reset to remember, right? Work people are home people, we're the same people. And I think I'm just acknowledging that it's a challenge, even when you know better,
It is. You're at work, it's just a different family,
I know, that's the, yeah, that's the supposition.
but you do have to be very tactful and respectful and everything.
You know what's interesting, Dave, is around here, lately, we seem to be talking an awful lot about risk, taking risk. And we know that the enemy of risk is safety. Okay, you just have to think about that. I don't mean being safe and not running over your feet. I'm talking about being safe within a world you know. In other words, if you're going to really understand growth, you've got to understand risk. If you understand risk, we have a little saying in the influence program around here. It says, if you're not risking your job, you're not doing your job. Everybody goes, whoa, right? They do. They start to do that. You've heard me talk about this before. I think to some degree, our safety, we did the job yesterday, we'll get paid as long as we do the job, gets in the way of what we want sometimes. That's just my theory. I'm not saying people shouldn't. There are people who are hamstrung by their jobs, they should know that, right? You are what you are, right? And if you've got yourself locked into the golden handcuffs, you are locked into the golden handcuffs. It's not, just know what you are. Don't lie to yourself, as they say, right? So, but it's fascinating because you're all of us, by the way, love our leisure time. I don't get me wrong, I don't get up on Monday morning going, Yahoo. Many times I get up and go, Yahoo. Same effect. But it's important, isn't it? And now, pull that downstream a little bit. How are they feeling? We used to call it the 60-minute blues. 60-minute blues is when you're watching 60 Minutes on Sunday night and you're starting to get blue because you got to go to work in the morning, right? How's that? That's the 60-minute blues. So I would tell you that here's what if I have to pick on anybody, I'm going to pick on American business. We don't talk about this stuff. We say, come and do your job, make money for us. Come and do your job, make money for us.
I read last night that it's an American phenomenon. Americans blame themselves for being laid off and for their unemployment distinctly from any other culture on the planet.
Yeah.
That's an interesting, kind of frightening phenomenon. Talk about downsizing, and we blame ourselves because we're not good enough. That's crazy culture.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's tough stuff.
Well, I deal with Europe a lot, and our obsession with number one is so far beyond anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Like just the Olympics, like a great performance that gets you fourth place never makes the paper in the U.S.
Right.
And Norway would be hard, mind you, they probably took the top four in cross-country skiing. But there's a real difference in America versus, at least the folks that I deal with in Scandinavia about obsession would be at number one. It does, I have to temper it sometimes.
Oh, we all
I
do.
have to tone it down.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
Did you look at the medal count for the Paralympics?
No.
We didn't show up the top 10, man. I was disappointed as hell.
Yeah.
What's my ownership on the Paralympics, right? I'm an American. We didn't see the flag on it. We were like number 10 on the list. I don't think we won one gold medal. What? I know. We all temper it. Every one of us have that competitive bite in us, don't we, huh? We all, look at Don. You know.
I don't think like that.
No, of course you don't. So, Yeah, it's a tough one. Front of mind's hard work. You know, we used to talk, I tell Deb all the time, I says, get a stump speech. Get an imp speech. I don't care what they bring up. Bring it around to culture, please. Right? Bring it around to beliefs. Come up with a stump speech so that when somebody brings you any old problem, you can turn it into what you want to turn it into. That's leadership, you know. And people say, Chuck Wilson, I used to work for Chuck. Chuck was the most amazing guy. Safety was his stump speech always. So I'd walk in and I don't care if I needed, you know, more materials. He'd turned it into a safety talk. I'd be going down over the stairs and going, what the hell happened? What the hell happened? He just gave me a stump speech, right? But I do think for leaders, we probably have to learn how to talk better about it. You know, I guess. Yeah.
I have a stump speech that I give myself. Well, it's true. You know, sometimes this is going to sound really terrible. I really like my employees. Like personally, I like them. Or I, you know, strive to find what it is about them that I do like. But sometimes, you know, they yammer on about things that I really don't care about. But you know, it's important to them. So even if I don't think it's important, I do my very best to listen and engage with them. And the speech that I give myself is, and this is a little Machiavellian, but not like quite so evil. It's, you know, like, what is my final objective? It's to have happy employees so that we have a good workplace. And so if she needs to talk to me about some weird thing she created online that I could care less about, I'm going to listen and I'm going to be engaged and try and find something interesting and ask her some questions about it, because she's going to leave happier and then she's going to go back and do what I actually need her to do. That's true. So it's my own little.
It's not.
She's going to be
You know what?
Strategy.
Strategy.
All that conversation. That's
Right.
what engaged employees.
It's a good way to manipulate the conversation.
Well, that's personality driven too.
It is.
Because I have to do the same thing. Like, I so don't have time for this today.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know what you're going to tell me and I feel like I'm 20 steps ahead, but okay, sit there, breathe and listen.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it is for me.
You know, one of the things that somebody told me once, and you know, it's actually a pretty good way to live. They said, you have a bunch of events a day like that, they get one.
Yeah.
You're their event.
That's right.
And that's why it's easier for me to get engaged. Because when somebody kind of tramps in and they've been to one of Craig's workshops and they come down and go, have you got a minute? I'm thinking in my head, no, I don't have a damn minute. I got like 50 things I'm supposed to be doing here. I'm going to be here until 9 tonight. Come in and sit down. It's their moment, right? And I realize that I've got 50 events, but this is their one event. I got an email this morning at 5:45 from a guy who sat right here yesterday. He's got to do a final project. You know how we do. We make you all miserable with these final projects. And I said to him, I looked at his face and I said, you're not going to sleep tonight, I can tell. And he's going, I'll be just fine. So he sends me 5:45 this morning, sends me an email. I didn't sleep last night. He says, and he sends me his PowerPoint, right? And it's his moment. It's going to be his moment. You know, like I said, we're fortunate enough in our lives, we have a bunch of moments. We have people coming and asking for our thoughts and our advice.
That's very well said.
Yeah.
Because you do tend to forget that at times. You get focused on everything that you need to do.
And that's another human element that we bring in
forget
to the
about
workplace.
the human side of what they're going through.
And one of the greatest compliments anybody can give us, I've heard this from Deb and her group, is that when they feel like they're the only client we have, I've done my job, because we're giving them all the attention at the moment. You ever see people come out and do what we do and they're really someplace else when they really should be there?
I think it was a quote
I got into this one.
from General Schwarzkopf that I heard speak years ago. He says, he talks about rear rank Rudy, which is basically the lowest guy in the outfit, and he said, make time for him, in essence. And he said, you never know what he's coming to tell you. And on more than one occasion, quite a few occasions, particularly in HR, that person that you think is coming to tell you the story and you're thinking, I don't have time for this, and they end up coming in and thanking you for something you did to help them that you thought was completely insignificant, it makes your day. It makes your entire day.
Or on a worst case scenario, Neil, they're coming in to tell you something you didn't know that you absolutely need to know.
Does happen every day too.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, that's what we were talking about over here. I'm sorry about that. But yes, we feel better also. When the people leave, we, kind of a sense of accomplishment a little bit. At least I do. When people leave and they feel better about themselves when they do go. And so that's what it's all about.
I get the guilty husband thing. See, here's the deal. Somebody stays after a workshop and they want to sit and talk, and it's a really important time for them. Lorraine's sitting there going, I thought we were going out to dinner. Right, but she doesn't know, right, until I tell her. As soon as I tell her, it's over. She's
Yeah,
going, I get it,
okay,
no problem.
I get it.
No
Yeah.
problem. She understands it. So, but part of it, right, she'll sit there and go, that was that moment. That was their moment. So it's an easy one to do. Can I get you to talk about the third part of this,
Yes,
which is the handshake piece?
management by walking around. On this thing, how do you create more handshakes? Well, yeah, you just go out around and, hi Deb, how you doing? Only I give her a hug.
Well, yeah.
Make people a priority, and a couple of checks all over. Lean training, customer focused. And it's all about what Brett is heavily involved in that. It has been just about ever since the business started, right? So, and that focuses on all those things that we talk about as well, not just the lean stuff that you do physically on the floor of your manufacturing plant.
Right.
It's all about the other stuff that goes with it, the relationships. Care.
I like that. That's an emotion.
It is.
Right? We're not talking about a noun here. We're talking about a verb, I think.
Care, yeah. If you care, it shows through, and people resonate with that.
One of our core values is caring, and I think it really says something. Caring, just you care. It means so much to everyone. It's really cool.
Care? No, that's not mine. I can't take credit for that. Because I'm told I'm the opposite very often.
You're working on it. Progress, care. But you're approachable,
Yeah, that was Brett,
right?
yeah.
Right? People
Yeah,
can
no.
approach you,
Yeah.
so that kind of falls in line with that. Smile. I mean, if we were walking around like Ruby Gus's, people tend to follow that. I don't know if you notice, if you're smiling, I'm walking down the mall. I'm not even realizing that I'm smiling. I've got all these people smiling at me. I'm going, what the heck's going on here? I must have a smile on my face. And that's
Or
what-
some food or something.
or something. Yeah, it's probably more like that. Yes, it could be that, but take the time to interact, network, and be personal. Offer more handshakes. Introduce people to each other. Have more face-to-face conversations. Connect personally. And hold events. We like that. We like that one. That's awesome.
Think about it this way. When we run workshops, what's really interesting, if you do a series like we're doing with your folks, or like we do with Deb's folks, or we've done this with you guys, what happens in the beginning, the first rounds, everybody kind of stays their distance. There's this kind of thing. By the time the process is over, everybody's giving each other high fives and hugs, handshakes, every time.
Yeah.
And every time they come back in, the very first thing they start with is the hugs and the handshakes. To me, that's a big deal. And so all of the language about, I don't do hugs and I don't do all that kind of stuff, there's something real human, I think, about this. It's about human contact, and we all need it.
And I think that's a connection thing, you connect personally with people.
Yeah.
We do get to know, and we have fabulous friends. I'm just so pleased with the amount of people that we get to meet every single day.
One of the pieces that resonated for me in the video, first time I saw it, and more so each time, is the idea about the handshake. Would you really do business with somebody? Lauren, you and I were going to talk, and I said, let's put a shake on it, and you go, sorry, I don't do that.
Shake hands.
Yeah. But think about it, right? And it's almost more of a metaphor, but it really, isn't it? Hasn't it become something that's tribal? We can say we're in this together. But somebody had asked me, I don't know when it was, a while back, about creating contracts. And I said, we've been in business for 20 years now, almost, and we've literally, I think we maybe one
MEP,
contract.
The main,
Extension partner. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, and that worked well. Yeah,
And
that
I
worked
wrote
well for
it.
us, right?
I rewrote it because I
Yeah.
just hated the contract.
I remember
but
that.
I rewrote it.
Yeah, that was an interesting moment in time.
They actually signed
But
it.
one of the things is I don't have a contract with you, Don.
No.
And in the day that you don't think I have value, I'll go away. And that's the way it's supposed to work, isn't it? That makes me better and it makes you better. And our job will be to exceed your expectations. It's built on a handshake. Deb, it's built on a handshake. Brett, it's built on a handshake. People go, you got to have, you're being naive. You don't live in the real world. Well, the day that somebody stiffs me, which nobody ever has, I'll worry about it, I guess. Maybe. I doubt it, but maybe. So, it's interesting stuff. Your thoughts?
Simon Sinek talked about generations. I remember my dad not doing business with people because no handshake. And we've sort of lost that with some of the generations, some of that personal connection, and I think that that's a challenge.
There's a lot that goes with this. I think the business piece. Keep talking.